meeting this evening. I want you to know that we listen carefully to everyone who presents to the board. And just to let you know, you guys don't need to fill out the yellow cards tonight. If you want to speak, everyone will be given that opportunity. This is a special board meeting, so public comment will be limited to only those items that are on this agenda. So if you have any topics that are not on the agenda tonight that you'd like to speak to, we'd like to invite you back to our meeting that we will be having on the 13th, which will be our normal regular meeting. We do expect those attending and presenting to be respectful in order to promote understanding. If you are here, it is because you care about our schools and our community. We are all here for our students, and we must model appropriate behavior for them. And as you can see, we do have children in the room this evening. The school board does recognize that the consolidations of schools is an emotional topic. Our school district has changed so much over the years, from a single room schoolhouse to multiple sites, serving children who live in the city and in the surrounding area. And we will continue to change to meet the needs of our students, those here today and those we haven't met yet. So thank you for attending and for joining us as we consider these issues that are before us tonight. At this time, 6:05 p.m., I would like to call the meeting to order. Roger? Jennifer?
Here.
Rosemary?
Here.
Myself, I'm here. Nick?
Here.
Thank you. All members are attended. Nick, would you like to lead us in the flag salute this
Sure.
evening?
Please join with me on the flag salute.
I'm sorry, I'll ask you next time.
You guys ready? Ready? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Nick. And if I could request approval for a motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
A second.
I have a motion from Jennifer and a second from Roger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. So moved. The agenda is approved. We'll now move on to our Selma Unified School District budget update. This is an information item.
You want to read the speaking at the board meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry. The public is encouraged to provide input to the board on issues of concern that are on this agenda. Those who wish to speak will be limited to 3 minutes per person per topic, unless translation is required, and then we will give you 6 minutes.
So first of all, I just want to thank everyone for attending this special board meeting. Our intent tonight is to help individuals in our community and our schools learn about our budget and what has led to the districts considering a consolidation of our schools, of these two schools. Consolidating Washington and Eric White Elementaries has been investigated and considered several times in the past by the Board of Trustees, not just now. At this moment in time, our district budget requires critical attention. And tonight we're going to learn about the impact that declining enrollment, lower daily attendance has had on our district. We're one of hundreds of California school districts facing shrinking enrollment as the birth rate has declined and as people have relocated from California. As a result of declining enrollment, we are facing serious budget issues that must be addressed. Fewer students results in less income. As you will see in this presentation, the consolidation of Washington and Eric White is just one of many, many decisions and things that must be considered to ensure our district budget is balanced. We have been going through a line by line of our budget, looking for ways to make the least painful reductions, as well as identifying other sources of income. We'll continue our budget review, but at this point, we are facing some very hard decisions to ensure the district budget is balanced now and in the future. It's not just about today, it's about the future. Making reductions is difficult. It's emotional, painful, and sad. Both of those, all of us that are making the decision and for those impacted. It's the last thing we want to do, but we also have a responsibility to keep the budget balanced so we can continue to advance academic achievement here in Selma Unified. So we really do appreciate you being here and learning more about our budget. So if you could pull up the agenda, please, or the PowerPoint, please. Who has the PowerPoint? We have copies of the PowerPoint. Yeah. We have a translator. Okay. Just a moment. Okay. What is that speaking?
My understanding was I was only supposed to translate when they came to the podium, so.
So just a minute.
A mí me dijeron que íbamos a traducir cuando los padres pasaran para acá. Disculpen.
Whisper system. Where's the whisper system? We can take a recess if we have to, so they can get that set up.
Okay.
You can do that. You can call a recess to get it set up. You can call a recess to get it set up.
Should I ask her to just do it?
Hang on.
So.
I think that might be our best bet.
So we will go back and repeat everything. I was,
Vamos a repetir todo lo demás, perdone la confusión. A mí me dijeron que nada más los padres que pasaran al podio como la última vez. Alguien está traduciendo en el teléfono, en la línea del teléfono, pero ustedes están aquí.
so I was under the impression that we had someone here with simultaneous translation going on.
Pensamos que teníamos aquí para estar traduciendo simultáneamente, pero esa gente está en el teléfono.
Excuse me?
Can we take a recess and get that set up?
I'm just wondering. Yeah, we should, but it should have
Let's
been
take a
set up.
recess.
Okay.
All right. So then I'm going to call this meeting to a recess until we can
Right.
get that system in place. We will
Vamos a
readjourn.
tomar un receso para que a organizar todo esto.
start with her statement. I will start with mine and then we'll go to mine and then we will move forward on the presentation. Okay.
All right. So good evening. We want to welcome everyone to the Selma Unified School District Board meeting. We listen carefully to everyone who presents to the school board. And again, you will not need to complete a yellow card to speak tonight. If you do, though, we will still call you up per your card. Because this is a special board meeting, we will only be addressing those items on the. I'm speaking too fast, I apologize. Because it is a special meeting, we will only be having public comment on the items that are on the agenda. For any other topics, we will be having our regular board meeting on Monday, the 13th, which is a week from today. We expect those attending and presenting to be respectful in order to promote understanding. If you are here, it is because you care about our school and our community. We are all here for our students, and we must model appropriate behavior for them. The school board recognizes that the consolidation of schools is an emotional topic. Our school district has changed much over the years, from a single room schoolhouse to multiple sites serving children who live in the city and our surrounding area. And we will continue to change to meet the needs of our students, those here today and those we haven't yet met. We thank you for attending and for joining us as we consider the issue before us. Thank you.
Tonight, you will learn about our budget and what has led to the district considering a consolidation of schools. Consolidating Washington and Eric White Elementaries has been investigated and considered several times in the past by the Board of Trustees. At this moment in time, our district budget requires critical attention. Tonight, you will learn about the impact that declining enrollment and lower daily attendance has on our district. Hundreds of school districts in California are facing shrinking enrollment as the birth rate has declined and as people have relocated from the state. As a result of declining enrollment, we are facing serious budget issues that we must address. Fewer students results in less income. And you will see in this presentation, the consolidation of Eric White in Washington is just one of many, many things that we are considering to ensure our district budget is balanced. We have and will continue to go through the budget line by line, looking for ways to make the least painful reductions, as well as identify other sources of income. Our district will continue our budget review, but at this point, we are facing some very hard decisions to ensure the district budget is balanced now and into the future. Making budget reductions is difficult. It's emotional, painful, and sad, both for those of us making the decision and those who are impacted. It's the last thing we want to do, but we also have a responsibility to keep the budget balanced so we can continue to advance academic achievement for our students. So we appreciate all of you being here this evening and sharing your thoughts. So the first slide, please. School consolidation discussions are just one part of a discussion about serious budget issues in Selma Unified. So I'm going to turn, Dr. Alvarado is going to be talking about our approach to the decisions that we're going to make this evening and in the future, and our core values as a district. Give him a mic.
one of the most important things that we do as a school community is we serve our students and we serve our staff. And one of the questions we should ask ourselves is, why do we make the decisions that we need to make as school progresses from one year to the next? And one of the things that we hold dearly in Selma Unified are its core values of our existence. And this slide and the information on this slide is meant to serve for that purpose as a way to say, this is what we look at, this is what we hold ourselves strong to in whatever decisions we make. So core value number one for the district is that our district values academic, co-curricular, and extracurricular excellence. All employees have a responsibility to work together to ensure high quality programs and services that lead to individual student success. So this budget presentation is aligned to the core values in this way, in this particular core value. A balanced budget allows freedom to focus on student academic achievement, ensuring resources are available to serve students. District core value number two, our district values fiscal responsibility that focuses on the needs of students first. We believe this is achieved through mutual accountability from everyone, students, parents, community, and staff. This must be accomplished in a safe environment based on mutual respect, caring, and compassion. The way this budget presentation aligns to that core value is that our budget process is open and transparent to promote understanding and generate meaningful conversations about our resources. District core value number three, our district values relationships built on fair, moral, and ethical behavior toward and from all students, parents, and employees of the district. This budget presentation aligns itself to this core value because we share accurate information to promote mutual trust and understanding. District core value number four, our district values diversity. Our educational programs reflect and value the diversity of our community. Programs and activities will be implemented to ensure that all students may maximize their academic and personal achievements. This budget presentation aligns to that core value because promoting individual success for all students is what should guide our decision-making. District core value number five. Our district values professionalism that is characterized by commitment to student success and cooperation among all employees, classified, certificated, and management. This budget presentation aligns itself to this core value because we listen to and respect each other when handling easy or complicated issues. And finally, district core value number six. Our district values self-improvement. We recognize that our educational environment is changing rapidly and that student and employee success requires constant self-evaluation, improvement, and dedication. This budget presentation aligns itself to that core value because we continually review our programs and processes to ensure the best decisions are being made for students. It is because of these core values that the remaining of this presentation brings some meaning to them.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarado. So I'd like to turn over the budget presentation, and we have plenty of copies, I believe, for everyone here. And we will have this translated and posted on the website. We were just at the last minute pulling things and finalizing, and I apologize for that. So Ms. Affronti is our Assistant Sup of Finance and MOT, so I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you, Dr. Shepherd. So I wanted to start with some information that we presented back on October 25th. So looking at our enrollment trends since 2018-19, you can see that we have continuously declined. We had almost 6,400 students in 2018-19. As of October 25th, we were down. We were down to 6,045. So that is a 4-year loss of 348 students. And keep in mind, this is as of October 25th. Okay. So information that we presented at the board meeting on October 25th. We talked about the hold harmless ADA. So the state was able to. So ADA stands for average daily attendance, and this is average daily attendance is how a school district is paid. For every student, the student must be in school in order for us to get the credit for that day and in order to receive funding for that student. Being enrolled alone does, we don't receive funding just for the students' enrollment. They have to actually be in their seat learning. So in 2019-20, when COVID hit, the state allowed districts to use their ADA for 19-20 in both of the following years, the 2021 and the 21-22, which is this current year.
Why did they do that?
They did that in order because of COVID, they knew that our attendance rates would be low and they wanted districts to be able to still function and be able to provide the services that are needed for the students' education. Knowing that with students learning, doing distance learning and the small cohorts and that this would be the best and ideal situation for districts. So looking at our hold harmless ADA for the last 3 years, we've been funded at 6,082 ADA. Before COVID, our average attendance rate was 95.6%. So that meant that out of our entire enrollment, students attended school 95.6% of the time. Our enrollment, when we discussed this back on October 25th, we used our enrollment on October 5th, which was 6,045 students, which you can see that the enrollment alone is lower than the attendance rate, rate that we were being paid. So on October 25th, we projected our attendance, our ADA for 22-23 for next year to be 57-59. That is a projected loss of 323 students. So what that means is from 2019-20 to 2022-23, we were projecting that our enrollment was going to decline 323 students. And this is again on October 25th. At that time, we were projecting that our amount per ADA was 11,882. So this means that we would be losing a little over $3.8 million in our funding for the 22-23 fiscal year. So now taking a look at what our enrollment has actually been for this year in 21-22. October 5th, you can see we started at 6,045. That was the number previously presented. In 20 days, we dropped to 6,024. November 1st, we were down to 6,013. November 19th, we dropped down to 5,993. And at the end of last week, we were slightly up to 6,001. So you can see that just since October 5th, we are down 44 students.
Ms. Alfonte,
Yes.
is this working? I don't see it up there, or am I missing? Oh, no, I do see it. So what is it? 13,000 ahead? For that's what we're gonna lose, right?
Yeah, so looking at, if you look at this slide, so I went ahead and budgeted, because at the time I had to budget based on the numbers available at that time. So I used the 5,993, used the historical rate of 95.6% attendance, and that actually takes us up to 353 ADA lower than the 1920 year. For first interim, which will be presented next Monday during our regular board meeting, the amount per ADA is $13,050. So now we are actually projecting a loss of $4.6 million. And again, that's assuming that we reach the 95.6% attendance rate.
That's an
So-
additional $800,000 from October that we're projecting.
Just from October 25th.
Mhm.
So in reality, also, it could keep going down.
Correct.
Yes. So the next slide is going to show you just what we're really looking at. So our daily attendance rate, if we were to go down to 93%, that takes us down to 5573, which is a loss of 509 ADA or $6.6 million. If our attendance rate hits 90%, it's 5394, which is almost 600 ADA and would result in a loss of $7.8 million. And looking at the next slide, you can see where we're at currently. That bottom right-hand corner, we are currently at 90.87% ADA
Today.
attendance rate as of today. So we are looking at the higher amount. We're looking at $7.8 million loss in revenue for next year.
So I hope we're coming up with a plan for chronic absenteeism also in addition to budget cuts, because it needs to be a combination of both things, not just budget cuts and consolidation, but also what are we doing? And I'm not asking for an answer right now. 'Cause
No.
That's not part of this presentation, but I
Right.
just want to be sure that that is also in the works, that we're going to have a strong chronic absenteeism program coming to
So-
us soon.
Correct. And the challenge is COVID because of the protocols that we send them home and that we're required to do that. We have pushed back with the County Department of Health and we're changing some procedures. But I think also parents are concerned about their children attending. So, but we're down, that 7.8 million is probably unfortunately closer to what we're going to be facing unless we change this. And we're going to be working with our site leaders on some ideas on how to make that better.
One of the things that I did not mention, what this is also, the declining enrollment is also going to impact a lot of our other programs. Our Title I funds will go down, our lottery funds, which are allocated out to the site, those will be reduced. Just anything that's, any federal program that's based, any program that's based on a per ADA is going to go down as well. So the 7.8 million is just our general fund dollars. That doesn't include all of our other programs. Okay, so let's talk about what we've done so far. So on the next slide, we'll go over what has taken place, what took place from the fall of 2019 to spring of 2021. The district has made reductions in the amount of 2.56 million. There were vacant positions that were frozen. There were 6 classified staff laid off. District office staff were restructured, support staff were. We eliminated 1 executive clerk position and reduced our district receptionist down to 1 position. Laid off 5 certificated staff. Eliminated the assistant superintendent of ed services position. We had some restructuring of the administrative department at Heartland. eliminated a behavior intervention specialist position through attrition, laid off one classified confidential position, released or reassigned 5 administrative positions, and restructured the high school staff for 2021.
A lot of these reductions were done in 1920 when Dr. Fisher was still here. Okay, some of these we did, just to let you know, though, so this encapsulates, this includes all those reductions. But this past spring, we did, when we had vacancies, we did not hire, we froze them. And it's a good thing because we, we didn't have the students show up, so.
Okay, the next slide show what happened from late spring to the summer of 2021. There's another almost $923,000 savings. So we froze the hiring for 5 certificated positions. These individuals retired and we did not fill those positions. We implemented new overtime and extra time procedures for classified staff. That had a big impact on overtime costs. 5 confidential classified staff were moved to salary positions, which eliminated overtime costs. And then we developed a conservative compensation increase for our bargaining units, for CSEA and SUDA. Taking a look at August through October, another $2 million in savings. We adjusted teaching assignments due to low student enrollment.
So what happened here is we froze positions that were vacant. When we saw the students were not coming in the fall after school started, and when teachers had already set up their rooms, we moved Mrs. Wood, 7 teachers to cover vacant
8.
positions. We adjusted staff after some, like a couple of teachers left ALMS. We had a teacher leave Roosevelt and moved them to a place where we needed them. And that saved us money because then we were able to cut those positions they vacated. But we had declining enrollment and we were able to move them around. And I want to compliment our administrators and the site and the teachers who, I know it wasn't their favorite thing to do after they set up their room, but to move. And they've moved, picked up where they left off with a new class, and that was huge. But $814,000 we saved in that.
Okay, other positions, we had a resignation of a district level instructional coach that we did not fill. In addition to that, we had 3 instructional coaches return to classrooms to fill vacancies. We had the library media coordinator resignation. We did not fill that position. We restructured our maintenance and operations and facility supervisory staffing to make it more cost efficient. We also, same thing. We reviewed the school enrollment and drafted the plan to consolidate Washington and Eric White Elementary Schools. And we are currently having a consultant review our transportation routes and walking distances and helping us determine how we can, what savings we can come up with any additional adjustments to transportation we may need to make. Okay, November to December. So what we're doing now, the savings is yet to be determined, but we are taking a look at our declining enrollment and looking at projecting what our grade level enrollments will be for 22-23. We're going to identify positions that may need to be restructured or eliminated in response to the reduced enrollment. If we don't have the students, we can't keep the staff. Develop an early notification retirement incentive for bargaining units and management to identify certificated, classified, and management positions that may be vacated. So if we have people who are retiring that would reduce the number of potential layoffs in releases and reassignments that we would have to do if we're able to fill positions that are open due to retirements. Review all of our district budgets and identify positions that could be funded from restricted funds so that we're able to maximize our instructional services for students and maximize the use of our general fund unrestricted funds.
So next week, at our regular board meeting, we will be doing your first interim report. And then we will also be presenting some restructuring and positions that, first of all, we are overstaffed now because we've had a drop in enrollment. So if it continues, which we anticipate, there will be elimination of some positions. And then restructuring some positions into more restricted funds, but trying to keep as much direct instructional support to our students. So revamping what we have to make sure our students have the academic support that they need.
Okay, so now we look towards January to March of 2022. So what we are currently looking forward to is what's referred to as the governor's budget. That is usually released around January 10th, and it's the governor's first draft of the budget for the 22-23 year. And that will help us determine what our initial estimates are for our revenues for next year, so we can start planning what our staffing and other expenditures are going to be. We're going to continue to review possible restructuring and reductions throughout the district based on that forecast. And then we will begin to notice employees of possible layoffs and administrative release and reassignments.
So do you have any questions on this portion? This is actually our first agenda item on the budget. If there's any questions on this and maybe this would be a good time if there's any questions from the audience as well, before we move on to the second agenda item. You don't need the cards, yeah.
Okay, so do we have anyone from the audience who would like to ask a question on the materials that we just covered in regards to the budget? Can you
Could
step
you
on up to
come
the
up to the
mic,
mic?
Roxanne?
And state your name, please.
Roxanne?
I heard you, Roxanne.
I can do it without the microphone.
Yeah. Playground voice, right?
Yep.
I think you are, Roxanne.
I'll just ask real quick. Roxanne Garrigus Case. I work at Terry and I live here in Selma. So my question is, on that projection, what is the news from the state with the, because I know there's a lot of advocacy going on at the state level of holding districts harmless again this year due to the protocols and the quarantining that's going on. Because that will make a big difference in what we do
Correct.
in the future.
So in fact, I just had a meeting last week with someone. We're going to get new money. Some of it's going to be a one-time money for a specific purpose. But we haven't heard, and nor has it been confirmed, of the hold harmless. So we're not sure until the governor's budget comes out.
And I'm also a little confused by the numbers. When you show the 18-19, I think the number is what, 6,045? Is that correct?
6,045 is what our enrollment was on October 5th.
Right. And so then that next year, when we go to 19-20, wasn't there an adjustment down? I mean, wouldn't we have cut our budget for the new numbers? Because even though we were held harmless, we were still
Cutting.
still had to cut for
Correct.
we still had to cut for our enrollment every year.
And that
So-
was the adjustments that we
Right.
presented later. Those were the cuts that were
Right.
done throughout that time.
So when we see that number of 343, that's over 4 years with some years of adjustments already being made. We're not losing
Correct.
343 in 1 year. That's over the 4
No.
years.
Right, and that's what we showed, the
Right.
decline over the 4 years.
Right. So I don't see the numbers of what's saying what is going to happen when we go from what's our budget in what's our budget this year and 21, 22 compared to what the budget's going to look like in 22, 23.
And that
That's
will
what
be
I
in
would like to see.
next week's first interim
Right,
report. It's
right.
when we'll do with the multi-year projection.
All right, because that's the number I'm looking for to see,
Right, okay.
because I know that those were cutting over those years, but a lot of those cuts have already been made.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
To add to that, if you'll recall, in 2019, Jim Melvino did tell the board that you needed to cut. So you did in 19, 20, and we were projected to cut in 2021, but COVID hit and we were held harmless. So really what we're going to be cutting is like 2 years of declining enrollment at once. So the 2021 and the 19, 20, you already did 2021 and then 21, 22.
One of the things we talked about this afternoon as well was.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Thank you, Roxanne. Was, we're fortunate that we had started making adjustments when we did, because that would have been a much bigger impact if we had to take care of all of that at one time.
Do we have any? Oh,
Yeah, I remember from the meeting last week at the CSBA, the state of saying if 2% goes up and down, if it's anything over 2%, then the school districts has to come up with the plans.
Mhm.
I think that's what the law says too. I remember that. Is that correct? If declining is more than 2%?
Yeah, the county office will take a look at what your enrollment is, and there is a section in the state reports that we do during interim that makes requests for you to come up with what you're going to do to address the declining enrollment. And then the county looks at that and they'll address it in the letter that they send you once they review. And then they'll keep an eye on us to make sure that we're making the adjustments we need to make. So there is accountability for that, yes.
any other questions? No, come on forward.
Hi, my name is Maria Gonzalez. I have 2 kids at Washington School, and from what I'm reading and for what you're showing right now, you're saying about reducing and frozen numbers and teachers and letting staff go, but I don't really hear about going for the obvious, which is which of all the council members and the teachers or the principals in school, who's the highest earning, and you can lower their salary a little so you can save more. I mean, if you're letting teachers really good positions that we need those teachers, then you can go for the obvious, just lower the salary on the highest members, the highest
Highest paid.
yes, the highest payers, and you can just lower those numbers just a little. It doesn't have to be a lot. You can just lower the salary and just get through these times. Because like she said, it's right now numbers are going down because of COVID. But if things get better, then we can get higher again.
Hopefully.
It's just this time, and it's not only here. It's
everywhere.
around the world. So you can just go for the hours, the obvious, lower the salary for the highest one, the highest. I'm not saying teachers, because teachers, they don't get enough, but I'm saying the highest ones. So you can just lower your salary, because I think you're getting good money. So you can just lower that and and get better teachers for our kids, because we need good teachers. We need them.
And just so to clarify,
Yeah.
your board is a volunteer board. We get paid $20 a meeting, so there's
We
not
do it
much
for
to,
free.
which we would gladly donate back,
Yes.
at least I would. Yeah. No, that's $20 a meeting, not per hour. I made $480 last year, which you could have back.
She doesn't understand.
Okay, so we're gonna talk, oh, yes.
These questions were given to me by one of the teachers, and I just wanted to ask them for her. When you talk about attendance, my name is Sylvia Emerson.
Hi. Phil.
Hi. One of the teachers had a question. She asked, with the virtual attendance, is this counted?
Virtual Learning Academy?
Virtual learning?
Yes,
Academy?
ma'am. It wasn't on that list. I noticed that this afternoon. I don't see VLA on there.
It's not.
Okay.
So we will double check that. Yeah.
Okay, and the other question she had is, when you mention elimination of positions, will this include the 2 assistant principals that were added as new staff or to the high school?
We're going to develop, which will be we're in the process of developing staffing parameters, which means based on enrollment, certain positions will be at every school. So right now we're looking at everything. Doesn't mean that not one position is held above another, but we do have to have certain positions in place. But all of that will be looked at. Mhm.
Okay.
Everything in the district is being looked at.
Okay, and I'm not sure if this is under the budgetary, but she had a question about high quality education. How about lecture classes for the high school? We value transparency and raises for the staff. I mean, and actually it's not a raise that we'd be getting. It's COLA that we're trying to get. But that was her question about high quality education.
Okay.
I think she's talking about drawing people to Selma.
Sure.
Fine.
Sure. So those are great questions. And I think that one of the things that that has been brought to the board and the board approved is to start a dual language immersion program, which we have students leaving our district for. And that program will be funded from from restricted funds, but that will hopefully bring back students into our district. And we are looking at all kinds of different things that won't cost a lot, but adjusting to the way parents want their students educated now. So we're constantly looking at different aspects of education. I hope that helps. But yes, and someone brought up, I can't remember whom, we do have, this district's allowed a lot of students to leave the district. I have the numbers. I don't have them in front of me and I apologize. But looking at why they're leaving, and some are leaving because of, when parents work in another district, they can go to that district and we release them. And so there's different analysis that we need to put into place and looking at all of the declining enrollment. But let me reemphasize, the entire state is in declining enrollment. And before we get started, I know board members had went to a workshop and Napa Valley Unified had significant school closures last year, I think it was, and because of declining enrollment. So everybody's looking at this issue.
And that was going on pre-COVID.
Yes,
It
pre-COVID.
had already been identified that we had a decline in enrollment pre-COVID.
Yes, you
So
did.
COVID just has made it worse.
Worse, right? The attendance and the decline.
Piggyback off that. You mentioned Valvino earlier.
Jovino,
Jovino, I remember him not just saying we had too many people or too much staff. We didn't have reserves. We should have had
Correct.
basic reserves, and we were Selma was very bad at the time about not having that reserve. And it's been mentioned that we try to keep a Band-Aid on everything from like 2016 to 2018. And we went through that reserve
Yes,
and we bottomed out. So that's why we have to do things now. Otherwise it's going to happen just all over again.
true. So your reserve, I don't know, do you recall the reserve at that time? But if you don't make cuts, it eats your reserve away. And we are required by law to have a 3% reserve. Absent that, then the state, and if you can't make payroll, so forth, then you have to.
3% is not
It will
enough to
not make payroll.
for one
No, it will not make payroll. So,
Yeah, if I remember right, it went from a little bit over 10 to 3% in a couple of years.
mhm,
And basically no one wanted to make the hard decisions,
right,
and that's exactly what's going to happen again.
right.
And it's already happening. So I just wanted the board, because we got new members to hear that this isn't new. It's just that people have been afraid to make decisions.
Even the 10% is probably not gonna.
No, we should have, realistically, we should be at 20, but the way that this place has been ran in the past, and we all see it now. I mean, everybody sees it, what's been going on. So that's just to give some information to the rest of to everybody.
Okay, so moving on, the second agenda item we have was about sure, come on up to the microphone. Hi,
Hi, my name is Anita Gonzalez. Okay, I have a question to ask you. Do you guys still get paid for COVID when the kids are not there?
no.
No, that's not what I heard.
Okay,
I
so,
called the Fresno County. Okay, and then I have another question to ask you.
let me clarify
Okay,
something.
go ahead.
So when students are not in the seats, that's what we get what we get paid for. That's our unrestricted. We do have money that we received, every school district received, were COVID funds, ESSER's funds, and the state and federal dollars, but they're earmarked for certain things. You can't move it over and use it to run your school district. You can purchase things, like we're using some for facilities. Those funds are helping pay for Virtual Learning Academy. They paid for the summer program. They are paying for technology and so forth, but you can't use that money to operate the district. So yes, we did get funds.
Okay, my grandson, I have Tessie over there, he was online. They didn't have nothing. What are you trying to say, that they had stuff for them to start school? They didn't have anything.
Okay, so you're
That's
talking
why I pulled them out to go back to school.
virtual. So one of the issues we had,
You guys had a year to do this.
well, you're right. So, but the Virtual Learning Academy, we started in the summer. And we had a problem district-wide getting materials because the publishers had stopped publishing. So we were delayed in that response. And it took a while. You're absolutely right. It wasn't just Virtual Learning Academy. All of our schools were challenged with getting materials.
You guys waited to the last minute to get their stuff. And why people are moving out of the district, you're having less kids, because you're taking all their programs away. And now you're gonna take away these teachers and you're gonna close Washington. What is the teachers are gonna go? Half of the teachers are gonna
Well,
go
we'll get
airplane
in-
and half of them are not.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Okay. So,
Okay.
okay. All right.
You gotta think of, they got family too.
Well, absolutely.
And in the district, they're getting high raise. You don't need 3 people under you. You could cut them out.
Sure, we could. We absolutely could. We
You're
can.
getting high pay. You guys got a raise. Didn't you guys get a raise?
No. So.
You guys, how many people you have under you? About 3 or 4? And then the other ones, they should, all that money should go
Okay.
to these kids.
So we still have to operate the district with administration. So I'll bring to the next board meeting our organizational chart, but we will do that. So we will look at that. Absolutely. We're looking at everything now.
Okay. They should be paying for your cell phone, and then wherever you go, they should be paying for none of that stuff. All that money should go to these kids.
Mhm.
I'm fighting for all these kids, not just my 2.
Oh, good. Well, so
I
are
love
we.
all these kids. If
Okay.
you did, this wouldn't be happening.
Well, so just to keep in mind, we're looking at millions of dollars of reductions because of the declining enrollment statewide. So, But we're looking at absolutely everything and we will go through that. Okay?
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
like the Garners and all that, they had credit cards, they were using it. You
The
guys
who?
knew from the district, the supervisors, they were using their credit card to buy stuff. All that money
Mm.
should have went to these kids, not for them to be spending. That's why you
Okay.
guys, your budget's out of
No,
control.
I'd be happy to talk to anybody about anything that you know that maybe we don't know. We have cleaned up a lot of things. I've only been here a few months. Mrs. Fronti's only been here a few months. So you're absolutely right. We found some things that aren't correct that have been going on for a while. Absolutely, we did. And we
That
cleaned
money
it
should
up.
have went to these kids that, all
You're,
these programs you're taking out.
we're
for
not
these
taking
kids,
out, ma'am, we're not taking out any programs.
Special ed and all that.
No, we're not taking out any, there's no discussion of taking out anything. So let's go on with the consolidation and maybe we can help you with understand. We're not taking away anything other than.
No, I'm just for all these kids.
Sure, I
Okay.
totally agree.
I used to be a volunteer at Indiola Crosswalk
Uh-huh,
for 4 years free because I love these kids.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
you're welcome.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Maricruz Cooper. I'm a
Hi.
parent here at the district. I have 4 children, 2 at the high school, 2 at Indianola. And I have a couple of concerns. You know, one of them right now, the information we were presented, most of it is, okay, these are the cuts we made. But what about sharing that information about all the expenditures that have happened? For example, the new positions that were added. You know, yes, we saved a lot of money making all these cuts, but then a lot of money was also spent. So I think the community needs to know, okay, and I know it's in the agendas, but not everybody has access to the agendas online, or they don't have the time to come into to the meetings. So that would be something, you know, also sharing the, this is what we cut, but this is what we have added,
Okay,
the new positions.
fair.
Also, what is the policy for adding new positions during this time? You know, should we be adding any new positions if we're in a budget crisis?
Well, first of all, the 2 positions that we added at the high school were different funds. They're not from the funds that we're talking about, the general. We have a lot of budget. Our budget has many categories. And some of it we can spend only for certain things. So those 2 positions you're referring to were out of a supplemental concentration grant.
Oh, yes, but
So
those are not,
they're not out of the unrestricted side. And we've also moved some positions that we could legally do. We did move them over there, which is showing salary savings. So we don't put any new we have not put any new positions in the unrestricted budget. We have not done that.
but
It's out of the other one.
there's
And
other,
next week, to help you understand that, and I totally agree with you, we're going to show you all these budgets and what they are used for, including the positions that are funded. So maybe that will help everybody understand.
oh, no, yes, and I
Okay.
understand about the 2 positions that were added at the high
Yeah.
school, but there's other positions like the principal coaches positions, the coaches for the principals that were added. I think, you know, there's other services that our students need, that the money could be spent a little bit better.
So those
Oh.
again, okay, so the coaching, we purchase, because we have consultants that are purchased. The funding is out of those restricted pots. We don't take anything out of the unrestricted that goes directly to the classroom. Mm-mm.
So maybe just looking back
Sure,
into
sure.
those budgets. and seeing, okay,
Absolutely,
where can we pull to get more? services
exactly.
for our
And we
students?
have been, you're absolutely
So
right.
far, every single cut that I've seen up there affects our students directly. You know, it doesn't affect the administration.
Sure.
It doesn't affect, it affects the students. We're taking away so much from the students. And right now, we're here for them.
Yeah,
They're our
Yeah.
priority.
I totally
I work
agree.
here for the district. Not only am I a parent, this community, that's what I work for, you know?
Perfect.
My students are here, my kids are here. We
Okay,
need to make sure that we provide the best education we can, the services. Right now, can I get an extra minute? Because I
No.
have one more
Oh.
thing to say. Can I
Make-
borrow somebody's minute?
Please.
no, we
Okay.
don't,
We don't do that.
we don't negotiate. Make it quick, because we haven't even finished our presentation, but go ahead, dear.
All right, well, the more you tell her she can speak, you're taking her time from speaking, so why don't we let her speak?
Okay, and I lost my train of thought. But some of the other things that I was gonna mention, and I just Forgot right now with
Forgot.
all the, stopping, talk, no talk. And that's the thing is with 3 minutes, you're not giving enough time to provide the input that.
So
would
I'm
like to give.
dialoguing with you, but generally I do not dialogue with, or none of us. So if we want to stick to 3 minutes, we'll only listen and not dialogue.
Okay,
Okay.
understand. So I,
I did.
It's not time. If they want to speak, you need to listen.
Well,
Not here. You interrupt.
Ma'am.
You need to listen, not here.
And moving right along.
all right, we're going to move along now. Would you like to finish what you had to say?
yes.
Thank you.
You're so
You
Ma'am,
do not
ma'am,
have the podium.
you don't have
ma'am.
the podium.
Please sit down.
We're late.
Please sit down.
But that's why we're late. The meeting started at 6, and you didn't have a translator for anyone. You don't have papers in Spanish for us. So if we started the meeting late, it was because of you, because you weren't prepared for this meeting. So don't blame us.
Didn't blame you. We're just trying to move it along. Ma'am,
This is not a town hall meeting. This is a meeting of the board. We had 3 town hall meetings prior to this. Now, if you would let her finish speaking, please.
Just my last comment that I wanted to say is lately, especially this year, we're talking about COVID and has affected our students. Well, there's been so many services that our students are missing out right now because of the shortage of staff. And right now it was mentioned that we were overstaffed. Well, my daughter was put into a 6th grade classroom because there was no subs for her classroom. That shouldn't be happening. We're so worried and concerned about the safety of the students. Right now, if we have the staff to provide those services, then those services should be provided. And the students should not have been put into 2 separate groups and put into other classrooms. I know there's a lot of other people who with teaching credentials who are not teaching currently, but couldn't go step in and cover those classes when there's no subs. And that also affects, we're closing positions, we're closing the Washington. Those students are going to miss out on a lot of services right now because it's a smaller school. They are receiving more. They're receiving more services than they are going to receive over at Eric White. And we can say yes, no, we're going to continue those services over there. But the amount of students who are going to be serviced is going to have to be reduced because of the shortage of staff. So that's another thing to take in mind. We need to make sure that if we're making these changes, that we have planned ahead for all these changes that are going to happen so that it affects the students the least, because that's what we're here for. And we need to make sure that every decision that is made is being communicated to everybody and that they are the ones that lose out the least. We don't want them losing out. They're our future and we need to make sure we fight for them and the decisions are made for their benefit. Thank you.
Thank you.
so the discussion on consolidations, as we mentioned before, is not new. And as in the past, it has been reviewed in the early 2000s, I believe, and some board members confirmed that, and we went back on some board agendas. So this is not new conversation. Part of the requirements of the county superintendent was the board was to look at ways to reduce cost in the district in 2019. So Total School Solutions, the next slide, please, was hired, and they gave us a very lengthy report that to the superintendent at the time, Dr. Fisher. And there were a number of suggestions and recommendations, which we are now pulling out and looking at. So for instance, looking at projections, enrollment projections, which we are doing now, looking at deficiencies to avoid insufficient cert reserves. So you'll notice that's 2021, 21, 22. So we've started that. Build reserves to industry standards, which you didn't have. We are now up to just over 6% reserve with not counting our categorical dollars. Utilize different ways of projecting enrollment, but they did say, and we highlighted, implement a schools consolidation study to see if you can consolidate 2 or more of the 8 elementary school sites. Also, if you'll notice, the last bullet that they recommend was to look at instructional coaches, teachers on special assignment, library positions and stuff. So we are looking at all of those positions now. The next slide shows us the smallest schools in Selma Unified. They range from 148 at Washington down to Eric White at 463. Small schools are very expensive to run. It's it's very expensive. In looking at the costs, and particularly generally about an enrollment of 600 students in a school site makes it manageable. Cost-wise, you cover your costs, and then there's some additional dollars that support other programs in the district. But as you can see, we have 5 schools that are well under the 600 number. The next slide. So we have been spending a lot of time on this. This was brought up early so that we can start looking at, we started looking at everything in this summer to look at how to economize and be more efficient with our dollars. And so we looked at this early on. We've had site meetings. I had site meetings with both staffs. We've had written input from staff and community members that we've responded to in writing. We've had a staff survey with a lot of the issues, questions they had. Some still need to be resolved, but most of them we were able to, I think, communicate the intention. We had 3 community meetings, 2 for Washington and 1 for Eric White. And of course, it's been discussed at school board meetings as well. Gentlemen, next speaker. So when you enrollment at Eric White currently, of course, it changes every day at our schools, but it's 461 and we're looking at 150 students. It's a couple less than that now. So we'll be around 600. Just to point out that Washington had in last year 174 students. So we are declining enrollment there. We have 1 less class this year than we had last year. So you can see the decline there. One of the reasons we looked at this consolidation instead of the other small schools, this was brought up multiple times at the community hall meetings, is primarily because the Washington students already moved to Eric White for their next grade level. When after first grade, they go to Eric White for the remainder of their elementary years. Plus, looking at Eric White, they have space to accommodate classes. We have some district programs there that could be moved, and even with them there, we still have plenty of room. One of the issues that was brought up by some people was that by putting these 2 schools together, families with multiple young children, ages K through 6, would have all their kids at one school site. And Washington and Eric White are configured totally differently than the rest of the district. So we're going to have all schools in the district TK. We will be expanding TK next year, not to every school, but because of numbers. But Eric White will be a TK through 6th grade school. So there's been a lot of questions about the Washington site, which I totally agree is a really great little site, a neat little old school, pretty cool. There are already 8 classes there, and our capacity that we could have there is 192 kids. And we're in declining enrollment. So that's growing is not something that we can sustain small schools for. In looking at the 150 students that are currently enrolled at Washington, the 30 of them are not even in the Washington area. So this consolidation does not impact their families as much as the ones that live there. But the community itself is a declining numbers community, Washington. So Monday night on the 13th, we will be looking at your board trustee areas. And the 2020 census shows that Washington community has declined 288 residents. So that community itself is declining. And then also there's been a conversation about adding portables, so forth. Well, first of all, the acreage, there's a requirement, state law, the acreage, that acreage does not meet state standards. We don't have the capacity to add portables, playground space, or adequate parking. And right now, we don't need to expand any site in the district, with the exception of the high school. The high school is one area that we need to expand because of the one group of kids that we've had consistent enrollment has been the high school. And with county programs and such here, we're impacted. But other than that, there's no other site in the district that needs to be expanded because of declining enrollment. So is there room? In 2007, the district built 2 classroom wings with a plan for growth. And it was mentioned in some, not just for Washington to move over, but I think the district was anticipating growth in the community. So you were getting ahead of the game, which is great. That did not happen, but we do have 2 classroom wings, 8 classes that were built there. The district programs and services that are currently at Eric White can be moved elsewhere and or accommodated at Eric White. We'll be working very closely with the district administration to look at what can be moved and the site administration and what they need. And there's plenty of playground space, and we are already to greet the Washington students, and we are expanding. That's been brought up several times about parking and ingress and egress and drop-off zones, and that's already in the plans to build a parking lot at Eric White to accommodate more traffic. It needs to be done anyway, regardless of the decision. So we're moving forward with that. Next slide. So in calculating the savings, this is a minimum of $463,500 by eliminating these unrestricted positions that are in the budget, including this is salary, health and welfare, payroll costs. This is just right off the top, but I think that there's other expenses that we can save by with this consolidation. And another cost that was not included in the 463,000 was the food service right now, because Washington does not have a kitchen or whatever. The food is cooked or prepared at Eric White, and we have to transport it over, and then a person will be there to serve. So that cost will be eliminated when we pull the students together. It will be reduced. It won't be totally eliminated because there'll be more kiddos at Eric White, but it will be a reduction, but for the nutrition services. Next slide. So there was a lot of questions about people losing their jobs. Some staff members may be reassigned or will be reassigned and or paid from other district resources because we just need to move as many as we can into restricted funds. Some staff members may be placed in vacancies that occur because people retired or left the district. But that's something that we work with our bargaining agreements. And looking at overall decline in the district, there's no doubt there will be some layoffs in the district. And so we're working on a plan now, which we'll present on Monday. But that's all on seniority. So we don't know who that would be. And that's why later in this agenda that we have you as a board considering for approval an early notification retirement incentive to see if we can get folks that are planning to retire to let us know early so we don't have to make cuts if someone's planning on leaving in a time. So we're looking at different ways to protect people that still need to be moved that because of this consolidation. So students, the walking to Eric White, we have students from that Washington area that are from 2nd grade to 6th already walk to Eric White from that community. We could establish a regional bus stop if we found that, and that will not be an extra expense. It would be built into the current one, but if needed, we could add a bus stop. But right now, they're within the walking distance of the board policy walking distance. Next. So the Washington campus. So first of all, we've looked at several options, and we have to make sure whatever we put there is funded from special budgets, not from the unrestricted, because the idea is to reduce the cost of the unrestricted. So it is the district, it was proposed and put out there that maybe the adult school, it could be something else, but right now the adult school, we were planning, if you'll recall, the board last spring when I was here as interim, approved adding portables to Heartland to the tune of about $750,000. But when this became an option, we stopped that project because that would save money. But the adult school does want to grow and needs to grow. And we were working very closely with the adult school consortium, and there are funds for that. But regardless if it's the adult school, something will be there. We will not leave the site vacant, because that is a concern of the community as well as our concern as a district of leaving it vacant. So we have that decision will be, should this go through, then we would bring back to the board suggestions on what could be placed there. There were questions about donations that have been from the community, have been very generous with Washington because they love Washington, and things have been donated. They can be moved to Eric White. One particular item, the electronic marquee, no longer functions. So we had to shut it down earlier this year because it was malfunctioning, and it's not because of the age of it. It's going to need to be replaced. So anyway, in the future, so it will not be moved. We really, the board, you as a board, but we as a staff, we do know that this is hard and there's a lot of traditions, but we also know, and you've seen it as you open school, new traditions occur. And it's really a key responsibility of us as your district leaders and you as a board to have a balanced budget that we can maximize the resources. And I know your focus as a board, which you repeat to me often, individually, about student achievement, and that's our focus as well. So we want to really be transparent about the budget information. If we're not clear, we will be happy to provide it. I think we've proven that. And so we just are thankful that people are here tonight and are passionate about the schools, but that's what we have. Do you have any questions that maybe we missed?
Any questions from the board?
We're gonna be, if this facility is gonna be used for adults school, that would help the city, right? Having those more growing adults, that education that could go with this EROP or some of the programs that are possible to bring it in, or? So
yes, in talking to Mr. Fabrizio Lopez. Well, anyway, in talking to the adult school and the work on the CTE division of ROP, that if we do expand, it definitely will open up opportunities for our community. We're looking already, they were looking at this already to do some joint ventures with Reedley College. It has nothing to really do with the site. It has to do with what the district's goals and vision is to provide more adult programs, which is why they wanted to add to Heartland, is because to provide more during the day and more in the evening. So I think it's not about this location. It's just that that's a vision and something that the district has been working on for a while before I came. There's a vision to provide more adult programs that will definitely help the community.
Yeah.
that do not cost money to anybody.
Yeah, I think the city of
Personally.
Selma is lack on that.
Mhm.
We don't have that much the adults education program here that would bring maybe more jobs and to the community.
Okay, so that's all we have.
All right, so at this time, we'll open the floor up for public comment on the consolidation. You may step up to the mic if you have comments, please. Come on up.
Okay, now is going to be the comment for the Washington closing school. So I wondering, did you say that you need to close because it's for my understanding, they don't have a lot of students, but you spend a lot of money in this school. So what kind of programs do you have in this school? Because the programs, if you make more programs for the students, you get more funds for the school. So I want to know how many programs do you have right there? You have ELAC, do you have programs for special students? Things like that. The government put money in this education when you just require good programs for good school. So this is the one of my majority wondering. This school is a small school, Washington, but the school belong to the community Latino majority, right? Yes? It's a community, low income families, farm workers belong to this school, right?
Yes,
So how-
we have similar populations in
Yeah.
all of our schools.
I wonder how you make this decision, how you make that decision, just because it's a small school or because it can belong to the community that never opened the mail, never hear the voices. You're not prepared with agendas in Spanish, you're not prepared with translation. It's a community that never showing, they never be prepared to do this. And as the community right now, there is right there asking for not close this school. Did you say you want to open a adult school because it's going to bring more opportunities to the community? If this community is a low income families, farm workers, how is going to be the opportunities for this community? Because I heard they're going to bring more jobs for another person, not for this community, because this community care about kids, about education, about the change the next generations. Because they already grow. Did you planning to go to school? Did you planning to go to adult school? Some of these parents, they want to be in that school. So you need to, if you search our community and you say, this is good opportunity for the community, that means that you talk with the parents and you asking, do you want it to be change your kids to this school, to another school, right? Did you say you have 3 meetings? 3 meetings before the kid this decision? Did you attending the 3 meetings, parents? Did you hear about these 3 meetings? Okay, that's my question. If you already do 3 meetings, how you came with this decision? If you don't ask the parents, you not go to the school, you not search to the community, you don't see the community. You need to stop to do this because this is not right. The community right here, they say they don't want to close this school. I'm really new in this area.
Okay, your time's up. Thank you.
I'm really new in this area. And I know
Your time is up.
the
Thank
community
you. Please be
belongs to this
seated.
community. They don't want to close this school.
I'm going to ask you one more time to
Thank you
please
so
be
much.
seated. Your time
Thank you
is
for
up.
your attention.
So I'm not going to respond to your actual questions, but I will say that we just went over the board, just as a reminder, community, that we're looking at a minimum a minimum of $5 million in reductions. We're going to have reductions everywhere. One of the advisors that the board and the district hired in 2019 said to start looking at consolidating schools. And why Washington and Eric White were chosen was because the kids already go to Eric White. The community that we serve at Eric White is very similar, if not almost identical, to the Washington kids. These kids already go there when they go into second grade. So the consolidation makes it gives continuity, allows the teachers from the upper grades to work with lower grades to talk about student achievement and transition. And the school, the students, we accomplish two things. Combining the school allows the students to be together, as well as we have a reduction in costs, which the district has to start making some hard decisions.
Okay. So first of all, I want you to be respectful to us, to have respect for us and show us when you having meetings. Because I went asking for signatures around Soma, and when I asked if the parents knew that they were closing Washington School, all of them, they didn't know. The majority of the people I asked, they didn't know that you are trying to close the school because you haven't made this public. You need to make this decision public so that we, the community, can have a voice, so that we can fight for this. I don't, like you said, it's easy for you to transfer Washington to Eric White because, I mean, it's in the process, right? But let me tell you this. When they're in kindergarten and they're in first grade, that's what they're learning, the basics of everything they'll be learning in the future. They're learning how to read, they're learning how to do ABCs, math, they learning everything. When our kids are that young, that's when they're learning everything. So if you take that away, you're gonna make a bad decisions for our kids. In your paper, I see cutting budgets, cutting this, cutting that, reducing this, reducing that. But I didn't hear, or you didn't mention about what are you gonna do? What are you gonna spend? How much money are you trying to spend on our kids' future in education? Because if you transfer the kids, you're gonna save a lot of money. That's super clear, Lala. You made it really clear. But how much money are you gonna put into our kids' education? Because at Washington, my kids, they have speech delay. Both of them, my first grade and my kindergarten, they have speech delay. And they have learned so much in this time. And you're gonna take that away from them. You only have one reading intervention teacher at Washington School. Instead of bringing more teachers, you only have one. You only have one speech therapy teacher at Washington, just one. Our kids need education. They don't need a parking space. They don't need a lot of things. They just need education. That's what you have to do. Just focus on our kids' education. It's simple. It's super simple. We need this for our kids. So start making this budget for parking spaces, for making schools bigger and better and whatever. You're not even saying about education. You're not even mentioning if our kids are gonna have a decent meal every time they go to school, because they're gonna need breakfast, they're gonna need lunch. So if you're gonna start, if you close Washington School, I expect you, all of you, to bring better educations to our kids, and I expect you, and I demand for you to bring better food to our kids. Because if you don't do that and you start spending your money on other necessaries that you're thinking that you need,
Okay, thank
then
you.
No,
Your-
don't shut me up. This is about my kids' education. You never mentioned anything about the program.
Thank
All I'm
you.
hearing
Your
is you
your
buying
time
teachers
is up.
But not saying anything about adding
I
better
will ask you
programs
one
to
more
our kids.
time. Your
No,
time is
that's-
up.
That's so disrespectful for you. You're not even prepared for us. We don't speak English.
Thank you.
And as you heard, my English is not really good, and you didn't matter like like
Yes.
to try to talk to us, and like she said, I don't have to talk to you. Like that kind of rude language to us is disrespectful. It is.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please. Hello.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Bradbury, and until this year, I was a teacher at Selma Unified for 27 years to be exact. Apart from obtaining a bilingual credential, I have a master's in reading language arts, and I am also certificated as a reading recovery teacher. Before retiring, I spent the majority of my teaching career at Eric White and Washington Elementary. I have a bird's eye view of the situation of the two schools and the situation of reading intervention and the needs of our community. For the last 20 years, I have been a reading intervention teacher, 13 years at Eric White and 7 years at Washington. It was during the 7 years at Washington that I saw the amazing opportunities and benefits that a K-1 school provides the students and parents that arrive at their door. As you can see, it's getting emotional. Okay. I have seen firsthand how this school embraces these newcomers and supports their development. From the principal, Raquel Hammond, to the very last staff member. Our main goal has always been to have authentic school, family, community partnership that puts our students and their well-being first. Yes, there are challenges students face entering the public school system. At Washington, many students are second language learners that must learn to navigate their new surroundings as well as develop a new language. Our young students come to us with little or no classroom experience. As a K-1 school, Washington has a unique opportunity to focus on these early years and make a tremendous difference. We provide strong social and emotional learning in a safe and caring learning environment. We use strong professional learning communities to provide rigorous and meaningful curriculum and instruction. We provide educational equity through strong Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 intervention support. And our campus is prepped with signs, swings, and assemblies, all geared to this age group. Imagine a campus where every event that occurs and every dime that is spent has your child in mind. There are challenges parents face when their children first enroll in school. Our parents at Washington learn very quickly that their voices matter, regardless of which language they speak. They are an important part of their child's success, and their presence on campus is welcome and encouraged prior to COVID-19. As a result, school site council meetings are well attended, workshops and family literacy nights get a big turnout. Our parents value their children's education and appreciate the staff at Washington. And for many years, our parents have voted to supplement extra intervention services that help work to benefit our students. The chronic absenteeism prior to COVID-19 is well below the district's average. Parent surveys reveal high marks for Washington in all areas. For years, our schools have been,
I need to ask you to wrap it up, please.
Of the proper use of Tier
Your
1, Tier
time is
2,
up.
and Tier 3 support, and the use of student study teams to meet the needs of our students.
Okay.
I guess what I'd like to ask you before you vote is to ask yourself, why aren't we trying to create more places like Washington rather than looking to shut it down?
Thank you very much.
Why during this pandemic would we want to lessen services to these young learners that already have missed opportunities due to COVID-19?
Okay, thank you. Your time is
Why would
up.
we take our young K-1 students from this small, safe environment and place them in a larger school that already
Okay,
has
your
their
time
hands
is up.
full
Thank
with their
you.
own issues? Will our students be guaranteed that same amount of intervention support that they so desperately need? And I want you to remember, Washington Elementary School did not create the district's poor financial situation. Why then are you penalizing this school and this community?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lo que quiero decir yo es para todas las personas que hablamos español y que vivimos alrededor.
Ok, ¿puede comenzar de nuevo?
Ok. Yo quiero hablar por las personas que hablamos español.
I want to
solo
speak for the
español,
people that speak Spanish
y de alrededor de la comunidad.
and around the community.
Ustedes dicen que
You
la
guys say
opción es una escuela para adultos,
it's going to be a school for adults,
pero no se ha hecho una encuesta o no se ha preguntado
but you guys have not had a survey or have not asked
alrededor de la escuela
around the school community
si esto sería algo bien,
if this should be something good.
si ellos realmente aprovecharían la escuela para adultos.
Would they really take advantage of the adult school?
Porque si es así, está bien.
If
Pero
it's
si
like
no,
that, that's fine.
¿qué pasa con los demás niños?
What
Que a lo
happens to
mejor
the
pueden
other children?
regresar y por el momento, por cosas de COVID, no han regresado. ¿Qué va
Well,
a pasar con ellos?
permítame, señora. Currently, because of COVID, they have not returned to school.
Nadie está pensando en eso, en lo que ustedes dicen que están pensando en, en la comunidad.
Nobody's thinking about that. You guys are saying that you're thinking about the community, but
Realmente no lo están haciendo.
really you're not.
Porque tal vez muchas de las personas de alrededor de la Washington
Because maybe a lot of people around the Washington area
no están de acuerdo con la escuela de adultos.
are not in favor of the adult school.
Y hay que tomar en cuenta eso con
And
las
let's
demás
take that into
personas,
consideration,
de que si realmente están de acuerdo o no.
if they really are for that or not.
Yo sé que su trabajo de ustedes es eso,
I know that that's the work that you guys do,
tomar la mejor decisión para las escuelas,
to make the best decisions for the school,
pero también involucrar un poco más a la comunidad
but also please involve the community a little bit more.
y escucharla. Y si se escucha, se tomarían mejores decisiones.
And listen to them, and if you would listen to them, maybe better decisions would be made.
Lo único que pido, escuchar a la comunidad,
Yeah.
a las personas que hablan español,
That's the only thing that I ask, that you listen to the community, to the Spanish-speaking community,
porque yo siento que no se está escuchando a esas personas,
because I feel like you are not listening to these people.
ya que es un trabajo entender el inglés a las personas que no hablan el inglés. No
Because
les
it's a
entiendo.
hard thing for people that do not speak English to understand English.
Ahorita está el traductor, pero hay muchas cosas que los
Right
que
now, there's a
hablamos
translator,
español
but in a lot of things there isn't.
no lo entendemos.
We don't
Estamos
understand it.
entendiendo. Hay que enfocarse en eso también,
We need to focus on that also,
que realmente entendamos lo que está sucediendo
that we really understand what is going on,
y tomen más en cuenta a la comunidad,
and to consider the community a little bit more,
no nada más decir es para el bien de la comunidad.
and not just to say this is for the betterment of the community.
Eso es todo.
That's all.
Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, Sarah Martinez. Yeah, I'm a parent, and I was also a student at Washington. First of all, I want to say that the board, the rest of the board, besides, the ones that get paid, thank you guys for being here, for only getting paid, $20 to be here. Thanks for being here. But one thing is that you guys are here for the school, for the children, for the community. So it is important for you guys to listen to us. I don't think it's fair that we only get 3 minutes if you're not listening to the parents, the community. One thing you talked about a lot was the enrollment decline at Washington. I know a lot of other parents in the district that have said that they've tried multiple times to get their students into Washington and have been denied. 30 out of 150 students enrolled at Washington are transferred from outside the attendance area, right? That's because parents are choosing to bring their students to this school because it is more beneficial for their students. I have friends that have to travel from the other side of Selma because they want to bring their kid to Washington. I've had other parents say that they were denied. Why are they being denied? If there's low enrollment, why are students being denied into the school? The thing is that you guys said is that you've talked about closing Washington for a long time. I've heard this from parents from 20 years back. And this whole time, there have been other ways around keeping Washington open. I think that what you guys are doing isn't going to benefit anyone in the long run. This is about the students. It's about bettering our children. And what you guys are doing is taking away from them. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Monica Martinez. I'm Sarah's mother. I went to Washington School. My kids went to Washington School. My grandkids are now going to Washington School. I was a volunteer parent. I always enjoyed going and helping the kids. This school is in a majority of people coming in from Mexico, you know, a minority. I was there. I'm so proud to have been able to help a lot of these students to adjust coming from Spanish-speaking homes to come into a school where there are teachers that care, that understand that these kids are coming into a whole new environment, that they are in shock, just like most kids are anyways to go into school, but not knowing the language coming in. The staff there, I love them. My kids all graduated from Selma High School, and I give it credit to the beginnings that they had at Washington School. Because of the teachers, the staff, the smaller the school, the better attention they can give to their students. You stick them in a larger school, it's harder. The classrooms are bigger. I just don't understand why you would want to take that opportunity away from kids to have so much one-on-one attention. I love the school. It would be horrible for it to close. I brag to other counties, other people, parents that I met. I worked for CPS. I brag to parents about how our school, our Washington School, is like none other, because you only have kindergarten and first grade. There is more attention to give to the kids. The kids are not coming in shell shocked, and it's a great school. I would hate to see it close or to have anything transferred, because I've also done volunteer work helping people transport their kids to school. They get to know me. I get to know them, helping out in the classroom. It's just a great school. It's just, it's not just about money. Yeah, it should be about the education of our students, especially they're going to be our future. As far as the adult school going there, I think, yes, there are a lot of adults at Nick School, but you have adult school here at the high school. You have adult school at Heartland. I don't understand why you would need to have this school also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, what, can you do one more? Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. After this, we need to take a break. Our translator needs a break.
My name's Ricky Vargas. I have bukus of cousins, my sisters that go to school in Selma. I'm here supporting my cousin, and I grew up with a couple of cousins of mine going to Washington School. And you know what? One thing is like people are saying tonight, I hope you guys are hearing them, because when there are larger students, you don't get the attention we got back in the day. You had 20 students per class, to where the teacher was able to sit down with each student throughout the day, to where if these numbers higher, I mean, some of these kids, especially ESL students, that I see today who are still, not progressing in ESL, so these numbers higher in these classes, how is that benefiting the student? One thing that I got to say is I've been listening to everybody. When did a student become a number? It seems like all of a sudden these students are percentages, they're numbers. Let's start looking at them as individuals again. Because of, me going to Washington, I grew up, I do nursing now. I do caretaking. I've gotten 2 degrees at Reedley, going to FSU now. And so the thing is, if we continue to put these students first, maybe one day they'll be blessed and be able to, I'm not saying I'm perfect or I'm it, but they'll grow up being students with multiple degrees, being able to speak, full on English. But, real quick, I help Sama Community Outreach and with Pastor Delfina Vasquez. And I've come to us, we've been called to a certain number of these schools to pick up furniture that have been donated to us. And this furniture, we've seen dollar signs on these furnitures, desk, $800, $1,300, $1,500. So these are desks that are just sitting in a trailer basically. And when did, instead of spending $1,500 on a desk, why can't that $1,500 be put towards a student? Multiple students, if that, so it seems like the school district is going crazy with budget, with going over budget on spending on unnecessary things, when instead it should be spent on our students' education, so consider that, like I say, I'll end with this, and that is Dr. Martin Luther King had once said, don't consider people a number, consider them as a person. And that's what these students need, is to be considered as a person, not a number.
Thank you.
For a few minutes.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. We will return at 8:11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Getting demotion. You said demotion? Demotion. No. Can I get more water? Give me like a little water. I was like, that's awesome.
All right, if we can bring the meeting back to order, we're at 8:11 PM. For you. If everyone would like to take their seats again, we'll get started. All right, did we have any further public comment? Please. Oh, you, ma'am, you've already spoken this evening. What? All right,
No.
go ahead, 3 minutes. 3 minutes, ma'am.
I have a question to ask you guys. Can't you guys from Eric White, from kindergarten to first, bring them to Washington? You guys could keep the school open?
So Eric White currently has 471 students at Eric White. There's no way 471 students can fit into Washington.
Okay,
So that defeats the purpose.
Okay, I have a couple of friends. They live in that area. They're not going to Washington School. They're going to Eric White, Roosevelt, Wilson. And
We have parent choice. Parents can choose to
no,
go.
they said that they couldn't go to Washington School.
Oh, I'm not gonna argue. I don't know.
You guys want to close the school and bring adult school. I don't think that's right. Yes.
You can come up now, ma'am.
Hi, nice to meet you guys. My name is Sitlali Luna, and I am a tutor at Wilson Elementary, and I'm also an alumni student of Washington Elementary from 2007 to 2008. I will be speaking on behalf of myself, the Washington family, and my friend Yaritza Gomez. She is a dual enrollment teacher in Fresno. She couldn't be here tonight, but I will be speaking on behalf for the both of us. She said, "My name is Yaritza Gomez. I am a Washington School alumni, class of 2001. I oppose the decision to move Washington staff and the students to Eric White and other schools. Although 20 years have passed, I have."
Excuse me, could you slow down a little bit because Josefina can't speak that fast?
Sorry. Although 20 years have passed since I left Washington School, it is a school that has a piece of my heart. I was a non-English speaking student when I was first enrolled in that school. Miss Flores' classroom is one of the experiences that I remember the most. Miss Flores was and continues to be a caring and supporting teacher. She made sure all of her students felt welcome and supported. And on my behalf, I'd like to say that she is one of the teachers that actually made me go into the education major and is the reason why I want to be a teacher. She also introduced my parents to various resources such as migrant education program. Educators like Miss Flores who guided me and provided me with support through my struggles are the reason why I decided to pursue a career in education. I know for a fact I owe my biggest accomplishment to her, and her dedication and support not only for her students and her family goes unnoticed. And let's not forget, she's also a Mexican American woman. And in the eyes of us, we see her as like someone who's as high as the president. As a Mexican myself, I look up to her, and I know many students do too, because of Mrs. Flores' dedication and persistence to make a difference in the life of her students. I now hold a Master's of Arts in Early Childhood Education, and in the process of obtaining my teaching credential. Educators like Ms. Flores and the Washington staff have made an astonishing impact in the lives of many students and families that have attended Washington. It saddens me to know that a place that provided me with so many opportunities might not be there for the future students. And when the saying says it takes a village to raise a child, that is our village. Those are the people that raised us, and those are the people that are making the future leaders of today. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Sandy. These are my granddaughters, Tatiana and Elena, who are third generation Washington scholars. And I'm listening to everything about, how monies are here. There's certain monies are allocated for certain things. And it just saddens me to think that, this is sort of, the decision has been made to sort of change all of this. And so I would just like to say that, what can't we do to just, why can't the monies just change around to help keep the teachers, keep those who are so important to us, to my grandkids? And they're sitting here saying, Nana, they're going to close our school. And I said, yeah, that's what they're wanting to do. So I would hope that people would just really look at how important the teachers are. The girls come and they talk about their teachers, Ms. Zuniga, Ms. Tovar, Ms. all the, who's your other teacher? You know. Huh? Oh, Ms. Rosa. And the library. That's what they do. And the people who feed them, and they're, and it just saddens me to think that, again, there will no longer be that school. Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Nancy Mendoza. Buenas noches. me
Good
llamo
evening.
Nancy Mendoza.
My name is Nancy Mendoza.
Estoy aquí porque pues yo no quiero que se cierre la escuela.
I'm here because I don't want that school to close.
Todos mis hijos fueron a esta escuela,
All of my children attended that school.
salieron de ahí con las, ¿cómo se dice? Los programas que necesitaban especiales.
They left that school with the special programs that they had offered to them there.
Y después en ese tiempo empezó la cuarentena y
And after that, then the pandemic set in.
entonces hasta la fecha ahorita en la Eric White, como es una escuela más grande,
Up to now, Eric White, which is a bigger school,
mis hijos aún no tienen esa ayuda que tenían en la Washington,
my children to this day do not have that help that they had at Washington
porque es una escuela más grande la Eric White.
because Eric White is a bigger school.
Imagínate, con más estudiantes
Imagine that with more students,
van a tener menos ayuda.
they're going to have less help.
Y también mi pregunta es, ¿cuántos de ustedes hablan español?
And my question to you is also, how many of you speak Spanish?
Como si yo me encuentro con usted en el pasillo de la escuela, ¿cómo me voy a
If I meet
comunicar
you in
con
the
usted?
hallway at school, how am I going to communicate with you?
La otra superintendente que teníamos la conocía porque la miraba en los pasillos.
The other
o en el
superintendent that
parqueadero,
I know her because I used to see her in the hallways
o en el parqueadero saliendo de la escuela. como
or
que
in the
fue a
parking
visitar
lot
a
leaving
esa
the
escuela.
school, right there by the school.
Hasta ahorita es la primera vez que yo la conozco a usted porque no la he mirado en ninguna de las
Up
escuelas.
today, this is the first time I know you because I haven't seen you anywhere around the district.
So, me da mucho gusto conocerla y ojalá no cierre esa escuela.
And I'm pleased to meet you and I hope that you do not close that school.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further speakers, at this time, I'll turn it back over to the board for any questions or comments.
I do have a couple comments. I've been on this board for 11 years. And I've had to make some pretty tough decisions in my 11 years on this board. And this ranks up there with probably one of the toughest decisions. I personally have been on Washington's campus multiple times for many reasons. I've attended back to school nights. I've attended open houses. I've attended literacy nights there, carnivals, and I know how tight knit that community is and the parent involvement at that community is and at that school. And as much as it saddens me, I also have to look at the district as a whole and the big picture. You know, there were a couple things that have been said during the comments that class sizing about class sizes. Class sizes are not going to change just because they're moving to, just because the possibility of moving to a larger school doesn't mean that the class size is going to change for those students. Same with the services. There's been comments about losing services. We have not once said anything about losing any services at all at any of at the school site. That's never come up. As far as I know, the teachers are moving over. I know that there are some other staffing issues, but as far as I know, the teachers that have made such an impact on our students are still going to be there. I just, again, I have to look at the big picture. And again, this is extremely hard. Those of you that know me know how much I love Washington. And so this is definitely not an easy decision for me. So that's all I have to say.
I understand that no one's like to consolidation any schools. Me as a board of director, the new members here, you know, we have a legal responsibilities as a board members for the school budget. So why we're doing it? So we could continue to provide the best educations to our students till we keep doing all the programs we have. And that's what I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Okay. At this time, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consolidation of the schools.
I'll second.
A motion from Jennifer, a second from Roger. I will take this as a roll call vote. Roger, Jennifer.
Aye.
Rosemary.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Nick.
Aye.
So moved. At this time, I'd like to call another recess until 8:30 p.m. Meeting, please. Oh, Marilyn's. And I think Teresa.
Don't lie.
All right, if you're going to continue to join us for the remainder of the meeting, we ask that you take your seat at this time and we will continue with our agenda, talking about transportation.
Excuse me, folks over there, could you move your conversation outside because we can't hear? Thanks so much. Or sit down, please.
We gotta get started.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to item 10C, an update on our transportation routes and services administration regulation 3541.
Ms. Fronte's pulling up a document. So just not to, the document talks about the board, when we brought a revision of a board policy to move to radial walking distance versus actual walking distance. And as you heard a few weeks ago, parents came forth and shared some concerns about that change. So I wanted Ms. Affronti to go over it briefly with you. In particular, the issue of the concern regarding the bus stop by Highway 43. So I'm not sure what she's doing here.
I was trying to take off the watermark.
Don't worry about it. So she has a document. I'll include in your board packet this week. We didn't print it out. So just start talking.
Okay. So starting with the board policies on transportation on August 23rd, we brought to you board policy 3541, transportation routes and services for the first reading. Changes were made to the eligibility for the transportation services based on the newly proposed criteria. The changes that were made was changing to a radius zone so that basically we measured, you drew a circular radius from the central location, central school site. The K6 radius zone was drawn at 1 mile from the assigned school. 712 was drawn at 2.5 miles from the assigned school. And then that was brought back to the board on September 20th for second reading and adoption. There were some exceptions that were made for students who reside in areas where it states in the policy where adequate walking pathways are not available. For instance, we did have it brought to our attention that we had some students that lived on the other side of 43 that it was an oversight. Those students obviously are not expected to cross 43 in order to get to school. So those students are being picked up. anyone that lives in an area where there aren't sidewalks, yeah, walking paths, those students are also picked up on a bus route. As a result of those changes in board policy, the number of students that were impacted by that change was 310 students. I wanted to talk a little bit, some of the reasoning behind that was the costs of transportation. So back in 2012-13, when the local control funding formula was put into place for our revenues, the transportation funds were embedded into the calculation. We've never received enough funding from the state to cover the costs of transportation, but the amount that is embedded in there is $293,000, and that amount stays the same every year. So even when a cost of living adjustment is added to either LCFF or any of the categorical programs, it is not applied to the transportation funding. So that stays the same. You can see here our projected cost of transportation for 21-22 is $2.67 million. So that means that the district contributes 89% of the cost, which is almost 2.4 million. So you can see the importance of why we are reviewing our transportation program and why it was important to make adjustments to the board policy.
And we currently have around 530 students riding transportation. So it's pretty costly per student.
So, and as a result of that, the changes we've made, the number of students that are being transported, the number of routes, we have, I brought to you last month a contract for a consultant group to do an
Thank you.
analysis of our transportation program. The decision support group is currently looking at all of our data, all of the current bus stops and routes, the current costs. They are going to analyze what we have now, look at what our options are to be more efficient. Can we do fewer routes? Do regional routes or regional bus stops? Those types of recommendations. We hope to have something from them in the next few weeks. So hopefully by the January board meeting, I'll be able to bring you an update on their analysis. We did get the last of the information to them during the week of Thanksgiving. So they are currently working on routes and stops for both 21-22 and looking at the 22-23 year, and they'll even include recommendations on staggering start times, especially with the high school starting at 8:30 next year. And that's where we're currently at with transportation. You have any questions?
But just real quick, Mr. Fonte, when you talked about 43 and readjusting it, those parents came, there were some parents that came because
Yes.
yeah. Is there any way to make sure that everybody knows about that
Yeah.
change?
And that's what I brought up. If you scroll down, well, it's not listed on the webpage, but yes, we did actually contact those parents immediately the very next day and started picking up those students immediately. That one was just an oversight. So
And we're not missing any other ones that are out there that we know, that we're aware of.
not that we're aware of.
Okay. This is just informational, then, correct?
This is just informational,
Okay.
yes. I wanted to let you know that we did follow up on the concerns and then be able to explain where we are as far as how we're addressing the costs, looking at the costs in transportation as well.
Any other questions, comments? All right,
Thank you.
and Mrs. Wood.
On item 10D, We have a memorandum that will cover classified management, certificated management, and our classified confidential employees who might want to access an early tell retirement incentive. The fiscal impact will be determined based on the number of individuals who actually submit a letter of resignation retirement. The retirement incentive for certificated management would be a $10,000 amount if received by December 17th, an $8,000 amount if received by December 31st, and a $6,000 amount if received by January 14th. For our classified confidential employees. And for classified management, the dollar amounts would be a $6,000, $4,000, and $2,000 with the same dates noted above. All employees would still be able to access their health benefits paid through 65 if they qualify and have the minimum number of years in the district to receive that benefit. If the board has any questions regarding this memorandum.
I'll make a motion to approve 10D.
I'll second.
Do
And
we
this
have
is
any?
to money, right, Mrs. Woods? We save money on each of these.
Well, yes, absolutely, because although the board is offering an incentive, when someone in management is replaced, the board can make a decision not to replace that individual, to lower a position title, for instance, like a director to a coordinator. And there's always going to be a fairly significant cost savings between a beginning salary and an ending salary, especially if there's longevity tied with that. So this is very definitely cost savings. We just won't know how much and how much the incentive will cost until we actually start to get the letters of resignation retirement. And we are very definitely specifying in this memorandum and to all employees that it's an actual retirement. Someone cannot access this money, get the incentive, and then go work in another district. Walmart, yes. Another district, no. So.
And this, we'll use one-time money that we have to pay this. It won't come out of unrestricted.
And this will help us to know or to prevent layoffs for other positions.
Any unnecessary
Okay,
layoffs,
any
we're
unnecessary-
hoping.
Yes.
Any other comments? Questions? All right. So I have a motion from Jennifer, a second from Roger. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. 10D is approved. Need to also. Sandy?
And 10E is a memorandum of understanding with our labor partners, CSEA, for a one-time off the salary schedule bonus of $1,000 per employee. There are specifications in the memorandum of understanding regarding individuals who submitted a letter of retirement this year, but we're still working as of July 1st and may not currently be working. It also covers individuals who maybe just recently have submitted a letter of resignation retirement. And it specifies a cutoff date that anyone hired after a specific date identified in the MOU would not be eligible for the one-time off the salary schedule bonus. The fiscal impact is $380,000 based on the number of classified employees that we have.
Any comments or questions?
Just to let you know too, that our staff at the request of CSEA have expedited payment of this so that our employees will have it prior to Christmas. And I want to thank
Nice.
Andrea and her team for making that happen.
Thank you.
Nice. I'll make a motion to approve 10E.
I second it.
I have a motion from Jennifer, a second from Nick. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. So moved.
Thank you. And we also have a memorandum of understanding for the early child retirement incentive, again with CSEA. The dates would remain the same that I described earlier, December 17th, December 31st, and January 14th, with the dollar amounts being $6,000, $4,000, and $2,000 for, again, individuals who are ending their employment with the district and also retiring through CalPERS, with the exception of the 2-hour campus safety assistants who do not actually pay into that retirement system, but the expectation is that they would still be retiring.
Do you have any questions or comments?
Oh, Jerry,
Yeah,
Hey,
Jerry.
Jerry Garcia.
CSEA president. I just wanted to thank you for your consideration of this. I don't remember a time that we offered one of this, and I've been here over 18 years. So thank you for considering it.
Thank you.
I think historically Pam Howard shared with me that it was the mid-80s when anything was offered last time for our classified employees. So
Make a motion to approve 10F.
I have a motion from Jennifer and a second from Roger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, I'm sorry. Any opposed, say nay. So moved.
Thank you. And on 10G, we have a memorandum of understanding with CSEA. As the board is aware, anytime a reduction in a work year is considered by the board, we need to negotiate both the decision and the effects to do that. And this MOU reflects the agreement that has been reached with CSEA. If the board has any questions regarding that reduction in work year.
Do you have any questions or comments from the board?
Make a motion to approve 10G.
Second.
I have a motion from Jennifer, a second from Rosemary. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. So moved.
Okay, item 10H is a proposal from William B. Sala Company to paint the cafeteria at Eric White, and then also the cafeteria and kitchen at Roosevelt Elementary. The cost will be $55,691 for both sites and will come from the restricted routine maintenance. And that if this is approved, it will be completed during winter break.
That's great.
Make a motion to approve 10H.
I second.
A motion from Jennifer, a second from Rosemary. Any comments or questions from the board?
I don't think the cafeteria staff will miss the lime green kitchen at Roosevelt.
Probably not. All right, seeing no questions or comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. So moved.
So the next one on your, I'm turning over to Ms. Dr. Alvarado. I just handed it out. We have the educator effectiveness block grant. And, Dr. Alvaro.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone, again. And I do know that I'm right before the adjournment, so I'll do my best
10 minutes. You got 10 minutes. I'm just kidding.
to make this quick.
Can we
Effective
get
but
the
quick.
timer going?
Put a timer on him.
Well, if there's any questions. So this is informational on the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant for 2021. So this grant has some conditions to it, right? So just a little bit of background. This is Assembly Bill 130 that was passed in order to support professional learning for certificated teachers, administrators, paraprofessional educators, and certificated staff. And in order to be able to use this dollar amount for that benefit, there are conditions of apportionment and 10 allowable uses for the money. So apportionment number 1 is that the local plan for the Educator Effectiveness Fund needs to be heard in a public meeting of the governing board. Here we are. And this needs to happen before December 30th, December 6th today. And if the scheduled board meeting will not work, then a special board meeting, and we're satisfying both today. Conditions of apportionment number 2 is that a final report, once the monies have been expended, is due on or before September 30th, 2026. What's also important is that this is over 5 years. The funds may be expended between now and 2025-26. And then all funds, which we won't have to worry about, will need to be returned to the CDE if we don't use them based on the 2 conditions of apportionment, which we will. And then the second part of this is that there's 10 allowable uses for the money. And so in order to address the main goal of these dollars is to address instructional and social emotional needs for students. The district will provide professional learning and coaching designed to support the focus areas of the grant, and here they are. One is that coaching and mentoring of staff serving in instructional settings. Second are programs that improve literacy across all subject areas. Third, practices and strategies that re-engage students and lead to accelerated learning. Strategies for social emotional learning, trauma-informed learning, suicide prevention, access of mental health services, and other approaches that improve student well-being. Practices to create a positive school climate. Strategies that improve inclusive practices and differentiated learning. Instruction and education to support implementing effective language acquisition programs for English learners. New professional learning networks for educators. Instruction, education, and strategies to incorporate ethnic studies curriculum, which soon will be a graduation requirement. And instruction, education, and strategies for certificated and paraprofessionals for early learning curriculum. What I like about all 10 of those is that they address a lot of the concerns that our community had today, right? About this idea of consolidating and the possibility of something being lost, right, in programs. So reviewing the plan, again, the district is required to develop a plan. And again, a reminder that the governing board needs to do this, hear it, and then vote on it before December 30th. And at this time, we're recommending that the draft plan be presented to the governing board for their input and review at the December 6th meeting today. And then secondly, to finalize the plan will be brought, a finalized plan will be brought to the governing board on December 13th next week for approval. And again, we thank you in advance for your consideration of this request. And I'll take any questions. Just let me go through this last slide, right? This is the plan. In essence, that we are going to be addressing one or more of these 10, if not all 10, of these topics that need to be included in professional learning for our staff. And the plan is for us to spend $1.57 million over the next 3 years as opposed to the next 5. And so the initial plan is that we will have pre-service days prior to the school year beginning that are structured and geared toward these 10 components. And we estimate that the entire district to go through this professional learning classified certificated management of $523,000 for 2 days. So you extrapolate that out to 3 years, that comes out to $1,569,000, which we have a little left over of $1,462. Not wanting to give any money back to the CDE, we'll figure out a way how to spend that. I can take on address any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarado. All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion from Jennifer, a second from Roger. Should I ask for questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. So moved. This meeting is adjourned at 8:54 PM.
Job,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.